good evening, everyone. Good evening. Welcome again to another Tuesday night's Thoughts and Talk, live with Coach Wendy. I am Coach Wendy Hazel. If you have not been with us before, or if this is the first time you're seeing this, either on Facebook or on YouTube, welcome. I am happy to have you. I'm Coach Wendy Hazel. I am an inner peace life coach. I coach women of faith who want to overcome. I help them to overcome emotional pain from emotional abuse and to find inner peace so that they can have a more satisfying life, a more peaceful life. And so welcome again to Tuesday night's Thoughts and Talk. And this is a time when I share thoughts that I download from God, thoughts that are just in my mind. And I talk on different topics, topics to do with inner peace, topics to do with emotional abuse, topics to do with narcissistic abuse. That might be a term you're familiar with. A lot of people are not. Or being in just an abusive relationship. And so I talk about those topics, and my purpose is to bring enlightenment and to teach. I teach to teach on these topics and to have conversations about that will help women to, one, understand what's happening with you and what's happening in your life. Sometimes we are going through difficult situations, we're going through, difficult relationships, and we confused, just don't understand what's going on. It just doesn't make sense. And so my goal whenever I talk is really to just bring enlightenment and to educate and to help people just overcome. Knowledge is power. You might have heard that. Knowledge is power. We get knowledge and we get enlightened and we can make better decisions. And I trust God that it will be good decisions. But even if the decision is not good, we can trust God to order that. We can trust God to order our steps. As a verse it says, the Lord orders the steps of the righteous. If you believe in God, you have faith in God, you can, trust Him to order that, even when you make the decision turns out not to be how you expected it to be. Okay? And so tonight I come on and my heart is heavy. My body has this warmth. I'm just going to share my personal experience now. My body is warm. My heart is heavy. There's a heaviness like in my throat. And I know where that came from. I got news yesterday about the tragic passing of a young man who I know, a son of one of my friends. But I know him. I knew him years ago. I first met him. And the news just slammed me. I got the news and it felt as if a truck had hit me in my stomach. And my stomach had this like pain on the inside, and then my heart. And you may not know, but I had a son who was killed in 2014. That would be 8 years ago. And grieving for my son, grieving is a journey. I like to tell everybody it's a journey that is unique to each one of us. Nobody can take the journey that you will have to take that God forbid you have to go through that. But it's a journey. But I got the news, and the feeling on the inside of my body was the same as when I got the news about my son's passing. Because I knew this young man, I spent time talking with him. I really, cared and was concerned for him. And it just like triggered back that feeling around the shock of getting that kind of news. And it surprised me. It surprised me. So like I'm thinking, the thought that came to me is like, when you didn't know that you didn't know, I didn't think that the news of this young man, as much as I knew him, would have triggered all of these feelings inside of my body. And so this was yesterday, and then last night, I didn't sleep well. I didn't sleep well. I was thinking about his mom and the pain. I could only imagine the pain that she was having, or the shock she was in, or the numbness she was in. I could only imagine. And so I didn't sleep very well. And all today, and even now as I'm talking to you, my body, inside of my body, is not okay. It's not okay. But I have come to learn in my journey from pain, emotional pain, to inner peace. I have come to learn, and I want to say thanks to some amazing coaches I have, learning how to pay attention to our bodies and pay attention to what our body's saying. So when something has happened like this, bad news, it's come up, that we pause and really pay attention to our bodies and acknowledge it, accept it, and just take time in it. We don't stay there and forever, but take time out to really pay attention to our bodies. And that's something I learned. I didn't know to do that before. Before, I would have pushed it down and get busy doing something else and push down all the emotions that came. But I have learned how to pay attention, recognize this is exactly what I'm feeling, that I can describe it to you. This is what I'm feeling. And there's a feeling, kind of like a lump or pressure like in my throat. Yesterday, the walls on the inside of my chest was paining. Just the pain from the shock of the loss of this young man, right? And I believe I reacted that way because I experienced it before. So there is something in there for me, a trigger that I can connect with. And it's not a bad thing, it's not a bad thing. And so tonight, I want to, like I said, the topic, I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know what I didn't know. And that's what came to me today. I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know what I didn't know about emotions. And I didn't know what I didn't know about how people feel with certain experiences. And I'm sure each of us can say there's something like that where we didn't know what we didn't know, about things. So I want to talk a little bit about grief. I know it's not a happy topic, but it's a necessary topic, and especially if you or someone who is dealing with a difficult relationship. There's grief. Grief does not mean that the person died. It doesn't mean grief, and I looked up some definitions that I wanted to share with you guys. One of the definitions I found said, grief is a powerful emotional and physical reaction to the loss of someone or something. So it's emotional, it's psychological. That one doesn't say, another one said that. And it's physical. Your physical body reacts, your mind reacts, everything reacts when you lose someone or you lose something. And sometimes when you lose money or different things will cause the different levels of reaction. So if you lose $1 or $1,000, it is not the same reaction like if you lose $1,000 or $10,000. It's, you get all that reaction going on in our bodies, and sometimes we don't pay attention, right? It says it's characterized by deep feelings of sadness and sorrow, and often by a powerful yearning or a longing to be with the person again, if it's a person that we lost, right? It takes the form of regret for something that we lose, and remorse for something we did, and sorrow or mishap to oneself, to ourselves. And so the two things that I learned from my own experience is regret for the thing that you lost, and remorse for something you did. You get this what if I did this, or I didn't do this, or I did more of this, or I did less of this. You go through that, and that is also normal, also normal. It includes physiological distress, which is distress in the physiology of your body. Separation anxiety, people get anxiety, confusion, obsessive dwelling on the past, going back to the past and reliving different things that, with the person could be good and bad. And apprehension and fearful about the future. Kind of look at, okay, how am I going to make it without this person? How am I going to make it without this thing? Sometimes you lose a job. And we don't often realize that there's grief and grieving process. Once it's a loss of a person or a thing, something special to you, it's natural for the human being to respond in those ways. Okay? And so as a disclaimer, I am not a psychologist or a psychiatrist or anything like that. I share from my personal experience and from experience of others and any research or learning you get from specialists, right? Now, there's intense grief. Grief can be so bad for some people that it can become life-threatening in the sense of it messes up the immune system. Our immune system can get messed up because of the physiological reaction. We can mess up our immune system. So if you only think about it, the immune system gets messed up. You're going to get all diseases and all sicknesses coming in, and we don't realize it's connected to that loss and that grief and how your body react. And you'll get self-neglect when there's intense grief. Self-neglect, the person just neglect themselves. You just don't even look at yourself anymore. You don't want to do things. You don't want to get out of bed. You get suicidal thoughts. And there's a long list of things that come with intense distress and intense grief. And again, like I'm saying, it's not only when a person dies. If you lose the relationship, we could be in a relationship with someone and then we realize this here is lost. There's no connection. There's no real relationship anymore. And, like one person don't want the other one anymore, or, treats them in certain ways. I spoke with someone the other day and she was saying, it's clear that more than one person, I come to mind now, 2 different young ladies, where the spouse doesn't want them and basically saying, I don't want you. In one case, the spouse walked out, left. The other case, the spouse is putting that woman out, So it could be loss of the relationship, even though the two persons are still together. So it could be loss of things, it could be loss of relationship, it could be loss of your dreams, loss of a job, things like that. But you have people experience different things. You get longing, you get crying. Some of these are obvious, right? Dreaming about the loved one, you get anger, you get denial. Some people will be in denial and just don't want to believe this is happening. And that is a normal reaction of a human being. And persons, we need to know this and allow people to go through the normal process. Sadness, despair, insomnia, not sleeping, guilt, loss of interest, confusion, disorganization, disbelief, difficult to concentrate, withdrawal, they pull back, avoidance, overreacting, sadness, helplessness, hopelessness, emptiness, loss of appetite, and weight, and you can also get a weight gain, right? But these things are normal. I'm sharing this because I find that sometimes in the community that we might be in, it could be church or whatever, people are not aware of this and have expectations of you that just make you go quiet, go silent. Go silent, I should say. Go silent and pull back in yourself, and that is not helpful. And I want to share about different types of grief. I don't know how much you know that there are different types of grief. Listen to this list. I got 12 and there are more. Normal grief, regular grief. There's chronic grief, where it goes on and on and on. There's delayed grief, where people seem okay because of the initial shock, and then all the different things of grief, characteristics and symptoms come up later. There's distorted grief, where the grief is not clear. There's cumulative grief over time, like if you had more than one thing's happen. I've had multiple things. My mom died, my son died, lost a relationship. I've had multiple. And if it's not dealt with, it can accumulate. And then you get these physical things happening. Prolonged grief, some people it goes very long, much longer. And person may want to say, okay, time to get over it. No, right? We don't say that to people. Exaggerated grief, people could get drama, right? Some people naturally, that's their personality, drama, exaggeration. And so you can get exaggerated grief. You can get secondary grief. Because of the loss of one thing or person, you end up losing other things. So like you can lose a person. So in a relationship, you see it a lot of times, lose the person and you lose finances, you lose, different things that you had, insurance, support, different things. And then you end up grieving the loss of these secondary things that you lose, right? And then there's absent grief. There's some people who grief don't show up at all. Then there's inhibited grief where people, they have the grief, but they hold it back and press it down. And sometimes that's just to do life, just to get through life, you hold it back. And then there's disenfranchised grief. That one is just, disenfranchised grief, and there are more. And I just want to share just a little bit on disenfranchised grief because I didn't know about that all the time. Disenfranchised grief is when society or your community does not validate the loss or stigmatize the loss thing or person, and especially with a person. If the relationship was not approved by the society, community, family, when you lose it, they don't think it's grief worthy. People don't think it's grief worthy. So while you're having your human experiences and your human things happening, you have to more or less stay silent because others think. And then sometimes if we know we had a relationship and they were negative talk about it, or you were discouraged but you went ahead with it, and then now you lose it, you find that you probably go quiet because those people are like, see what I said, kind of thing. And then in those cases, they don't think it's grief worthy. It was a good thing, it was a good thing that you lose this person or this thing because it wasn't doing you any good. But we cannot deny our human experience of the grief that's happening inside of us, right? We don't let anybody do that to us because, like we heard of all this physiological distress and messing up with your system, it's not worth it, right? And I just love to share a scripture with you because I'm a woman of faith. I believe in God. Without God, I could not make my journey out of pain and into peace. And the one I want to share with you that's really is two of them. Psalm 34:18, and hear what it says. If your heart is broken, you'll find God right there with you. And this is the Message version. If you're kicked in the gut, he'll help you catch your breath. I just love how the Message version put it, because when we get bad news, we lose and we're hurting, it feels like a kick in the gut. There's a physical pain, right? And it says, if your heart is broken, you'll find God right there with you. He's present everywhere. He's present with you. And if you're kicking the gut, he will help you catch your breath. And then in 2 Corinthians 1 verse 4 says, he comes alongside us when we go through hard times. And before you know it, he brings us alongside someone else who is going through hard times so that we can be there for that person just as God was there for us. That again is the Message version. So not only God is there for us, he's going to be there for us, and he's going to help us catch our breath, but he's going to line up people to come alongside, people who got comforted before, to come alongside and comfort you, right? And the right people. And so that's what I wanted to share with you guys tonight, and just encourage someone. Somebody might have lost a relationship, or you're in the relationship and you feel it's lost, that whatever you're feeling inside of you is so normal. So normal. Okay? So great. Thank you, guys. Hi, good night. Let me just see everybody who's here. Thank you. Hi, hi, Sharon. Good night. Hi, Miriam. Good night. Yes, sit with your emotions, right? Don't rush it past. Don't rush past it. Don't squash it down or anything like that. Yeah. And Sister Rachel, good night. Hey, Tariet. Okay. Hi. Hey, Sister Roxanne. Good night. Right. Have any of you experienced any kind of emotions like that? You can, pop your questions in. I'll just answer questions in the next few minutes. And it was confusing, or you saw somebody, hi Daniel, or you saw someone go through, yeah, Daniel, yeah. I think I can say this. Daniel is in a grief journey, right? Having lost her husband, right? And the different types of grief, and how did you handle what was going on in your body? Did you pay attention to it? Did you sit with it? Or did you find yourself just finding things to do and get busy so you're distracted from it? Oh, Sister Roxanne, enjoying and soaking in the information. Awesome. Yeah. We need to, and we need to know, so much, especially if we're in church, we're in community. Without this knowledge and understanding, persons will be there and they're going through, and they might be silent, or if they're talking, we don't understand why is it they have to be like that. And we can't, we just really don't know. We just have to hold that space to that person and allow them and let them know whatever they're going through, it's normal. It's okay. Whatever they're going through, it's okay and it's normal. Like I tell people that, nobody has whoever it is you lost, or whatever that thing that you lost, nobody else knows what that is. Only you know. Was it the feeling of losing that thing or that person? Only you know that, So nobody can really tell. We can't tell persons what to do. Sometimes we'll encourage people to come out and get fun, come out, because of course people can go into depression. Encourage, but don't pressure. Encourage, but don't pressure, and just be there. Oh, right, Daniel. Sorry. Yeah, Denise was your sister who lost. Yeah. Okay, so Harriet is saying, I can't even tell how I felt with my loss. Don't think I'm over it. Yeah, because what happens is that depends on who's around us. Initially, it's numb. We're numb, we're numb. Like in that case, it was a death. We are numb to it, and we numb out just to survive. Absolutely normal, absolutely normal. And then after time, when the numbness wears off, the pain is there waiting. I know from my experience. When the numbness wears off, the pain is there waiting for processing. It waits for processing. It's still there until we just bring it and work with it. So, yeah. So, guys, I just want to share, and just, afterwards the replay is going to be up. Share it with someone who needs to hear this. The church community needs to hear this, because I've heard some wrong talk. Some wrong talk, and we don't know when we say things how it affects a person. We just had the news out there. We don't know how it affects a person, how somebody would react, but especially with loss of something that somebody wanted or they loved, we don't know. We don't know. And so that's why I entitled this tonight, I Didn't Know That I Didn't Know. We don't know that we don't know about these processes. We don't know that we don't know about grief and all the different. Did you know there were 12 types of grief? More than 12, probably 15 types of grief? I didn't know. I didn't know, right? So, but I do know about the emotional, the psychological, the physiological damage and effect that it has on a person. Okay. All right. So if you guys have no other questions, I just I'm happy you're here tonight to share this space with me. Remember to pray for my friend, Margaret, and her family. I know it's going to be really, really hard on her, losing her son. He's an adult, but it's hard. Just pray for that family, the Ben family. Pray for the Ben family, that, you know, God will really comfort, and that people around, that the community around will be understanding and patient with the whole process. Okay? So God bless you all. You are in my prayers. I wish you the best. Reach out and comfort somebody else. Listen out for the Holy Spirit if He's sending you to go alongside somebody to give comfort in a way that you were comforted in the past. And if you need to be comforted, be open and prepared for who the Lord is going to send to come alongside you for that comfort. Okay? So God bless you. Have a great rest of the night. Goodbye.